started 4 years ago, 2013. We're now one of the biggest partners of YouTube in Asia as a YouTube certified multi-channel network, having over 2,000 channels in our network, and we stream close to 2 billion 2 billion views a month, or about 6 billion minutes a month, with about 80 million subscribers, primarily between 15 to 25 millennial audience. So we manage some of the most popular YouTube creators in Asia. We're currently present in 10 countries. But we started as a content creation company. We are filmmakers and music producers ourselves, way back in 2005, so we're not that young. So in that sense, we are old. But very happy today to talk to a very distinguished panel of speakers on the future of media. So thank you.
Marc?
Morning. So many years ago when I was a reporter, I attended a media event, and when I was signing up at the registration desk, the girl at the desk looked at my name, and she looked at me, then she looked at my name again, and then she said, "La, ingat mak Charlie." But the truth is, I'm Malaysian, and I am a Malaysian with a funny name who lives in Hong Kong now. I am with CNN, a company that I don't think needs much introduction. What I do is I head CNN's digital presence for Asia, and what this means is that I head all the operations and strategy for the company when it comes to our digital presence. When people think of CNN, they think of TV, and that is because we have this incredible legacy of fantastic TV news journalism for over 35 years. We have been at some of the most important events around the world across this time. But what a lot of people may not know is that CNN is also the #1 multi-platform digital media news company. And by that I mean we are #1 when it comes to our digital website, we're #1 with our presence on social media and many other things. So I'm here today to talk about a company that's always been disrupting the media and continues to do so.
And Joanna?
Hi everyone, I'm Joanna. So about 4.5 years ago, I started creating health and fitness content online. So my platform is pretty much on YouTube, Facebook, and also Instagram. So I've been doing that for 4.5 years now, and starting from this year, I started a female network called Her Network. So with Her Network, it is currently the biggest female network based in Malaysia, and also it is the the 5th biggest channel on YouTube as well, based in Malaysia. With Her Network, what I've done is I've collaborated with other like-minded women who wants to basically empower women to be their best self. So with Her Network, it's not just about health and fitness anymore, but it's a huge variety of different content that ranges from, I would say, makeup, beauty, fashion, and also health and fitness. But the goal is to really empower women and teach them to be their best self.
Right. And just out of curiosity, like who has heard of Joanna before this? Right? And she's got close to a million subscribers to her YouTube channel. It's like, huh? Malaysian? You know, so I mean, this is quite a phenomenal thing. We'll talk more about that. Ken.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Ken Chin. I'm from Burnett, the advertising agency in Malaysia. If you look at the picture from the far left, that's me. Yeah, but I'm not checking out on her. I think there's some special arrangement. That's why I was putting up there. But I'm a gentleman anyway. Yeah. So I'm looking after the entire Burnett Group's the whole digitization process, meaning how we could actually digitize the traditional communication like print, TV, and also outdoor, right? But I think instead of introduce myself, I would like to request that, because a lot of people here are startup companies or the students. In fact, we are hiring, and we are also looking for the partners to actually give us more idea. We need more storyteller to look for the other Yasmin Ahmad. Thank you.
All All right, okay. So I'm going to start with the oldest kid on the block, yeah? So you were just sharing a little bit about Marc. I mean, oldest kid on block, CNN, I'm not talking about him. Are you ready? You said that you are actually the largest multi-platform, but are you seeing that the digital space is already overtaking the traditional media as we know? When we think of CNN, watching it on TV, is that, of course there are other things that is under the Turner umbrella, but are you seeing that changing and evolving already?
Well, the way when we look at content and when we look at platforms, it's not an either-or situation, but what we look is at how do these platforms complement each other, and how does the content we create work on different platforms? What kind of content can we create for each individual platform? In terms of absolute numbers, just this July alone, CNN had 180 million unique users across its digital platforms. We had 2 billion page views across our digital platforms. So the numbers are massive, but that's not to say that TV does not have a place. There is a case to be made that the most impactful, the most memorable things still are the ones that come to you from the big screen, which is TV. There are parts of the world where the CNN TV brand is still incredibly, incredibly huge. I mean, I know for a fact that the White House is pretty obsessed with what goes on CNN TV. You've also got Africa, where the CNN traditional TV brand is still massive, despite Africa being a very digital, mobile-first part of the world. But when we look at digital, we don't just look at it as, oh, here's a website, we're going to throw everything in there. But we kind of break it down by different platforms. So imagine, if you will, the solar system, right? You have the sun in the middle, which is our core digital product, which is our website and our app. And then the first ring around that would be traditional social media platforms, your Facebooks, your Twitters, your Instagrams of the world. A little bit beyond that, we then have social messaging platforms, which we are also on. So things like Line or Kik or Snapchat. And we create content that is customized to these platforms. So we have content for Snapchat Discover. We have Q&As online. The way we create content for Kik is designed to be accessible by a very, very young audience, which is primarily in their early teens. And then beyond that, we have emerging platforms, things like Amazon Echo, Google Home, and various other emerging technologies, which we are also in a very experimental mode going into to see what the future is and trying to build that future for the media. So when we look at the content that CNN creates, it is all of this in one universe. And then beyond that, there's also the new kinds of brands that we are launching, which may or may not even have the CNN branding itself. So one example of that would be Great Big Story, which is a socially distributed video content network, which is not about hard news at all, but is just about telling great stories from around the world. And we also recently bought Beam Video from Casey Neistat, which again is designed to create content for a much younger audience. So when we look at it, it is basically with a kind of 360 holistic approach to what news is and what news means to people.
Okay, so I think I wanted to find out, was that a very easy decision, moving into that space? I don't know, you've been there for about 2 years now, that whole thrust, because I know sometimes when we're so stuck with the ways and we're still profitable, and we can't see how sometimes we need to disrupt ourselves. How easy is that? Because I think like younger companies, fine, right? Because one day you're going to grow old, and then like you can't let go of what has always been the cash cow, right? So how was that journey?
So the reality of it is that change is never easy. Change always involves some degree of pain. But at the same time, CNN, our DNA, we have always been disruptors. When Ted Turner launched CNN in the early 80s, everyone told him that a 24-hour cable news network, a 24-hour cable news channel, you got to be crazy. This is never going to work. Who wants to watch news 24 hours a day? But Ted Turner did that, and he turned that into a success story. And not very long after, CNN became known as the brand, and it set the course for many other companies to follow. We launched our website in 1995, back when most people didn't even know what digital media or digital news was. And we have always been at the forefront of disruption. But you're right also in the sense that traditional profits, traditional revenue is still in TV. At the same time, that shift is happening. More and more digital media, or rather more and more advertisers want to invest and want to advertise on digital media. And Ken would be probably able to tell you more about that in a bit. But what we are doing is that we are trying to manage that shift in as painless a way as possible, in the sense that we want to make sure that we are where the audience is. And where the audience is, that's where the revenue will be as well, because that's what advertisers want. They want to be able to reach the widest set of people that they can possibly get.
You want to add on?
Yeah, I think the keyword here is the outreach, right? Depends on the consumer behavior, how they actually start consuming the content, especially news or entertainment or healthy information, right? So in terms of advertiser, to add on, they're always looking at the big numbers, who and where we could actually outreach to them in terms of running any campaign or any of the brand building. So in the digital platform, in fact, to us in Asia, we are still not so in terms of the numbers. If you put Malaysia, I think quite a number of Malaysian here, right? Digital platform, not just only for the urban area, it is also for the suburban and the rural area, because the key thing is actually through the mobile. So what currently I'm seeing the big players like them is they actually repackage the content, from the old traditional, maybe I shouldn't use old, from the traditional medium, right, to package the content to using the new way of delivering the message to you. Yeah, this is what it is happening now.
All right, okay. So Desmond, website says WebTVAsia TV aims to produce, manage, market, and monetize the most wanted Asian video content, right? So your history 2013, but before that was 2005, where you disrupted yourself and operated differently. But what's evolved in the last 4 years? I'm sure what people wanted 4 years ago, and 4 years is a long time in the digital world. What's changed?
Well, 4 years is a long time in digital, as you said. When we first started, we were one of the pioneers working with YouTube in Asia. At that time, when you own a YouTube channel, when you put up your videos on YouTube, you couldn't monetize or earn a advertising revenue from YouTube until 2013, when they launched a partnership program in Asia and then Malaysia. So at that time, we had a channel called Namewee. If you're Malaysians, there's this YouTuber called Namewee. Some call him controversial, some call him genius, some call him creative. But anyway, we started with him. At that time, he had one channel and 1 million views a month. But the first month he signed a partnership program with YouTube, he earned a $1,000 check from YouTube. And that was a revolutionary moment for someone like him, because he had never gotten any support from mainstream media, your Astros, your Media Primas, TV, radio, for his content. He's deemed as not suitable for mainstream. So he has always used social media like YouTube and Facebook to promote himself. So then, we being his channel manager discovered a new business model, and it's called the multi-channel network business model. And at that time, over in the West, in the US and Europe, it's already a established model, but in Asia it was new. So from one channel, if we could earn $1,000, I'm talking to entrepreneurs here. Let's think numbers, let's think financials. If we have 100 Namewee channels who have 1 million views each, that means I'll get $100,000 every month. That's how WebTVAsia started as a business. We're not here to create just good content, good storytelling that had millions of followers and viewers, but we're here to make a profitable business. So 4 years since then, fast forward, from 1 million views to 2 billion views, from a channel to 2,000 channels. We've grown leaps and bounds and into 10 countries. But what we realize, what has changed is consumption habit continue to be very unpredictable. According to Marc, we need to be in different platforms. So the multi-channel network business model has completely evolved. Let me tell you in terms of comparables. There's a company called Maker Studios in the US that started 6 years ago. And they got bought by Disney 3 years ago for $500 million or up to $1 billion. That was the peak of everyone in the MCN business. Someone like us, if you could also be like Maker and exit with $1 billion unicorn valuation, that's the ultimate, right? But that was 3 years ago. Now, everybody is going multi-platform. Everybody is thinking about not just YouTube. Joanna would concur. There's also Facebook. There's also Snapchat. And the Chinese giants like Alibaba and Tencent, they're all launching their own short-form video platforms. If you want to get into the media business today in content, think short-form, think millennials. And there'll be tons of platforms out there. They're wanting your content. They're wanting your creativity. I think that's, going to be the next big challenge for the media industry the next 12 to 24 months in Asia.
Right. So in terms of your what you're planning to do is still very much the demographics, psychographics, the kind of people that are watching your content. You'll have a specific target.
We're still very much in the millennial or post-millennial space. Our audiences are getting younger and younger. For example, in Thailand, we have this #1 YouTuber called B The Scar. He's a comedian, filmmaker. He has 5.6 million subscribers on YouTube and about another 5 million on Facebook. He's about 30 years old. We thought his audience would be 18 to 25. But when he turns up for a Meet the Fan session, they were all kids. They were all kids like 10, 12, 14, Thai kids. Because they all look up to him like a hero in their own country. He's funny, he's engaging. So I think our business, WebTVAsia's business, the next 10 years, will be targeting this 1 billion millennials below the age of 18. Because when they go to school, when they graduate, when they go to the working world, they'll be the biggest consumers in Asia. And that's when the real money comes for us. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Joanna, a YouTube sensation with close to 1 million subscribers in 3 years. What worked? How did you get that kind of build up? In four plus years, right?
So when I first started my YouTube channel, I had, I would say, like 10 subscribers and probably 100 views. That's it. But I think what worked for me was I was very consistent. So it was actually a conscious decision for me to take what I know. Basically, before that, I was a TV producer, and I'm also a fitness trainer. So I took both of those skills and decided that, do you know what? If digital is growing, maybe this is a time for me to bring my knowledge and my skills and bring it onto the digital platform. So when I started, it was a very conscious choice. And I told myself, if I'm going to make this work, I have to be consistent. So it wasn't just uploading one video and that's it, and just sit back and hope that the views will just magically come. It was being consistent in the sense that I made sure that I uploaded one video every week until today. So at least one video. If I have the time, then at least 2 videos. And the thing with online is that people are not just watching your video and it stops there. The engagement is extremely important. When people watch your videos, they are able to comment, they're able to say what they want to say. And so in return, when you engage with your audience, you're building your personal brand as well. You're building your platform, you're building your brand, because then they know that they're not just watching a video and talking to someone that doesn't care about them. Especially with my type of content, people that watches my video and comments on my video are people that genuinely needs help and advice. So for the entire 1 year, I managed to get 100,000 subscribers, and I told myself I will reply to every single comment, and I did. Basically, I treated that as my full-time job because I quit my job and I straight away went online. So I know that when you quit your full-time job and when you go online and when you try to start something, sometimes you will feel demotivated, especially when you're creating all this content and nobody's watching it. But I told myself, I'm going to treat it like a full-time job. I'm going to reply, 8 hours. If it's 8 hours a day, I'm going to reply to every single person. And then I'm just going to keep creating content, because the more content you create, the more searchable your contents will be. And also through the years, it's also working with your niche. So I realized that through the years, 80% of my audience are female and 20% are male. Then I sort of like targeted my videos to more, I would say, female-related content, because those are the people I'm reaching out to. There's no point trying to do everything or try to know everything. So it's very important for you to understand your audience and work towards that. Work with your strength. And also, I want to be realistic. No buff guys will want to watch me and try to, be buff. So you have to be realistic, know your audience, and reach out to the right audience. And also, I think the key is really engagement and consistency, if I were to narrow it down.
So why do you think you have that global appeal? And were your top 5 markets you were sharing with me earlier, were you surprised these top 5 markets came from these areas?
My top 5 markets are basically from America, India, I would say UK, Malaysia, Philippines, and also Australia. So they're pretty much English-speaking countries. To be honest, I'm not surprised, because when I started my channel and my content, it was also a conscious decision to make my content timeless. So let's say if I were to create something today, 4 years later or 5 years later, people are still watching it. They're still doing my workout videos. They're still cooking my recipes. So the whole idea is to make it timeless so that, in a way, I can keep earning revenue. Yeah, without constantly having to come up with new content that is, and then someone watches it for 1 month and that's it, it's not relevant anymore. So it's about creating content that's timeless. At least that's for my platform.
So now that you started her network, why?
Why? Well, I've been doing this for 4 years on my own. And I know that as an individual, I don't know everything. And working on your own, you can only expand that much. And so I have a vision in regards to building it into a female network that will also help women in other areas. Hence, that is why I decided to start her network, because I wanted to go beyond what I know. So that's how I started collaborating with yoga instructors, Zendra, who's a happiness guru, people who know things that I don't know, and people who are in different industries that I'm not in. Basically, to really reach out to a wider audience, a broader audience, and in regards to the business aspects, I'm also opening up my different opportunities, not just working with companies that's health and fitness related.
And that's understanding, you were saying that 80% of your audience were females and hence moving in that area. Okay, we'll talk more about other things. So Ken,
before that, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I think the floor might be asking this, As a YouTuber, what is your business model, right? Where's your income source? That might benefit.
More, right?
Yeah, the floor.
I think Desmond pretty much said it right. If you get, okay, so the main business model on YouTube is really based on Google AdSense. So basically, the more views you get, actually that's not right. It doesn't mean the more views you get, the more income you make. That is not true at all. Here's the interesting thing. Let's say if I have 1 million views, and my views are from America, and Desmond has 1 million views, and his views are from Malaysia, our income are completely different. Because it's based on cost per mile, CPM. So my 1 million views from America are a lot more valuable, because I'm earning, let's say, $8 per 1,000 view. Whereas views from Malaysia, he's earning like $1 per 1,000 views. So in a way, that's also a conscious decision for me when I create my content, not to make it localized. Yeah, so people think that the more views you get equals more money, but that's not entirely true. It really depends on your demographics, where your views are coming from. Age group matters as well. If you have bigger age group from 25 to 35, advertisers like that because those people spend money. But if your age group is from 13 to 18, yes, they watch, they comment, but they don't have the spending power.
But not forgetting them, because they will be future spenders.
Yes, true, yeah. So they grow older together with you as you grow older as well. And also, pretty much. So I would say it's quite complicated. It's not just based on views and numbers. It's also demographics and all.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, good, right? So for you, Ken, what are your clients asking for now, and how receptive are they to new ideas? Or everybody's just coming, hey, I want to go digital. I want to make it go viral. I know that's whatever campaign, it's going to go viral. What are your clients looking for right now, and how do you advise them?
Sensitive question. I have to answer it politically correct.
No need lah.
Just in case there are clients here.
It's on Facebook Live.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Oops, no.
Let me rephrase. I actually prepared for it, but I think might need to change since there's a Facebook Live. So, nah, just kidding. Of course, some of the brand a bit struggle in terms of how they still continue to deal with or communicate with their consumers, right? But I think our solution to our clients is always an honest solution, right? What is honest solution? As in, not necessarily we are so hardcore, must sell digital, must sell social, must sell PR news, through digital. But really depends on the objectives, right? Okay, I will speed up. There's 10 minutes left. So, to the clients, they are not just receptive on any of the digital idea. They are also demand for more. How could we, using a digital-led campaign, to mix with the traditional channel in order to achieve their business communication goal? So that is the challenge to us. But of course, there's a lot of big data that we can actually look into, working very closely with the media owner, working very closely with the media agency, come up with the content, come up with the more engaging messages to communicate with them. So that is always our solution to it. Not necessarily must be digital, but definitely digital playing a very important role in our communication campaign.
I want to talk about building a community, because at the end of the day, it's that tribe, it's a community. I mean, even at BFM, what we're trying to do is building that digital community. We're available on CarPlay, a bit of a plug here. But just moving in where people are going to be listening to you, right? I mean, who's to say that, apart from podcasts and all that people can't hear you around the world? So what are you all doing to build the community, and how important is that community? And I know you guys have also moved from B2B to B2C right now. Is that part of that strategy to build that community?
It is. At the end of the day, we are a B2B company, yes. We work with brands, we work with platforms like Google and Facebook, we work with advertisers and other partners. But we realize in order for the WebTVAsia brand to be recognized eventually by 1 billion Asian millennials, we need to go B2C. So what we have done the last 2 years is we created 2 offline event brands. The first is called WebTVAsia Awards. It's like the Oscars for YouTubers. But we want to build this platform to promote Asian talent, recognizing the best Asia has to offer from 12 countries. And the second one is what we call the ViralFest Music Festival. And this is more music focused. And again, we organize these events in different countries in different years. Because we realize the likes of YouTube Fan Fest, they pioneered this. But we realized that every time we attended an event by YouTube, it's always promoting, American and European YouTubers. There's very little recognition by the West or even by mainstream media in Asia for young digital talents that are really coming up fast. That's why we created an ecosystem. And eventually, we also created our own platform, developed our own platform. It's no different from the likes of your Netflix or iFlix. It's a mobile app, and we've launched it in Thailand in June. It's called Love with a U. So we're building a community of love, pun not intended. But I think Asians have to come together and talk to each other more. The best Malaysia has to offer may not be known by fans in Korea, or the best Thailand has to offer may not be known by someone in Taiwan. And we feel, when the best of Asian creativity and talent come together, that the future of media is bright for everyone. It's not just for platforms or companies like us, but for aspiring entrepreneurs going into this space. Thank you.
Okay. I'll move on to you first about building the community. When you do, building that brand, at the end of the day, that brand association, why I want to work with you, how do you go about doing that and having that conversation with your clients?
Yeah, I think before that is about the purpose of the brand, why are you here for, right? Instead of, I'm selling my products, I'm hard sell on my whatever gear, equipment, things like that. I think more like, how you could actually help the community. Not so much on CSR, it's more like, your brand purpose that achieves something that could help or to enhance our people's life or changing the behavior to be better. So that is more on the brand building process that we are looking at.
Marc? And so is that when you talk, you shared a little bit earlier on how you're on Snapchat and all that. Is that how you're slowly, well, not slowly, creeping in anyway?
Well, I'd actually go back to what Ken said, which is about the purpose, right? I think whatever community or branding or expansion, anything you want to do, it comes back to the question of why are you here? What do you want to do? And with CNN, the purpose will always be journalism, will always be to tell the most important stories of the day. And what we do is that we spend an awful lot of money. We send people into some of the most dangerous places in the world, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's Marawi in the Philippines, whether it's North Korea. We do it. We risk our lives to do it because our purpose here is the pursuit of truth. It is to inform the world about what's happening in the world around them. And that goes a very, very long way to building a community, because it is the community of people who want to find a credible place to go and get unbiased, unvarnished truth about the world. But beyond that, of course, it's nice to hear this as a mission statement, but beyond that, on a nuts and bolts operational level, you also need to have a strategy. And as we were speaking earlier, what we do is we look at all our platforms, our presence on all these platforms, and we tell the story that we want to tell in a way that appeals to people on these platforms. So our traditionally youngest audience is on Kick, which is, as I mentioned earlier, in their early teens. So the news we tell on Kick is very simple, very easy to understand for young teenagers. Snapchat is slightly older, between the late teens and early 20s. So the news there is very visual, very Snapchat. If you guys use Snapchat, you know what I mean. And then it goes slightly older and older. Facebook, we do a lot of Facebook Lives, more heavy-hitting stuff. We do Facebook Lives, let's say, from the DMZ in North Korea, or we do a Facebook Live from inside a volcano in Indonesia. And then our TV audience, of course, is the oldest ones, which is why you see the TV programming often is still the most traditional style of programming that we have. So it is about, it's always hard to build a community when you're a global brand with people around the world coming to your brand. But we try to build that community by talking to people in the way they want to be approached.
Right. Who's on Kick? Who's got Kick? Okay. Who's got Snapchat? Okay, it's all very young ones. Okay, yeah, I don't get Snapchat. I downloaded Kick, but I also don't know what to do with it. But I just want to know what young people are doing.
It's a very American platform.
Yeah. And yourself, I mean, that community is, I think for you, is very clear from the get-go. It is about building the community.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that as well. It is about finding your purpose and also your value. For me, from a personal brand perspective, it is about knowing, every time I create a video, before I even start creating a video, it's like, what value am I adding to my audience? Because you can't start building your brand, or you can't start something online by focusing on the numbers. The numbers will come as you start to build your value and your brand. Because then, every time people come to my channel, they know that, oh, I'm getting valuable content that's health and fitness related. Therefore, they will keep coming back. So if you focus just on the numbers, just to get the clickbait and all that, it will not be long. What you want to look for is longevity. How long can you keep doing this for? Right. And so you have to build that trust and that community for people to keep coming back and wanting more of your content.
Okay.
And just to add on to that, I also believe that this holds true both for individuals as well as companies. If you want to thrive, if you want to progress, you need to think about your values first and foremost, what you stand for, what you believe in, before you think about numbers and profits and salaries and stuff like that.
Okay. 1 minute left. I just want to talk about eSports and e-gaming. Is that also something that you guys are also very much involved in? Because that's also...
Is a very interesting area, but we haven't gone into. But there are other major players like, even Google and Twitch. They have all gone into these spaces. But what's essentially happening is consumption of content has moved from even on demand to live. So the live space has become so engaging because it's there, it's then. Even CNN reports events live on their mobile apps. So in terms of esports and in gaming, it's one of the most profitable content media businesses out there, even in Asia. So, but it's a very niche business, but it's also a very technology-driven business. So if anyone out there is in this space, we would love to talk to them. Here.
I think we're going to open the floor for questions now. Yeah, no one's talking about the older folks. We're not dead yet. We've got more spending power. Don't miss out on that opportunity.
Freda, we count you as among the younger folks.
Yes, thank you. Wait, I'm just gonna. I'm gonna look at my. Are there any questions from the floor first? And there's one up here. You all want to take one of the mics here? Got enough or not? Okay. If not. And just your name, where you're from, and your question.
Hello. Okay. First of all, my name is Shah, and I am from One Push. And I would like to first thank actually Ken for bringing some smiles. And I have two questions. One is what are your thoughts on affiliate marketing? Because that is another way of monetizing actually your videos. So how do you guys are actually coping up with that? And another question is with regards to, let's suppose there are so many platforms these days. So which one to start with? I mean, how we are going to choose, whether YouTube is good, whether I should just go for Facebook, or, how?
How?
Don't know. If we answer this to our client, I think we will be fired. No, Correct. Of course, if you go back to the traditional client brief to the agency or go back to yourself in terms of how you could actually run this campaign can I answer you the second question first? Yeah, so I leave them to have more time to think how to answer the first question.
I think he only wants the answer from you.
Yeah, because I don't know how to.
I got a lot more questions coming. Okay.
So, more like, what is your objective, right? So, and what is your desired result, right? And the most important thing is, what is your budget to spend in terms of the communication, right? So, of course, in our digital arena, there are three areas that you can look into, right? There's a paid media, there's an owned media, and there is an earned media. So if put into the traditional terms, there's ATL above the line, there's BTL below the line, there's PR, right? So you could actually look into this medium as in how you could outreach to them. If you put into Facebook, in fact, I'm not here to promote Facebook, but it's more like from there, right? There's artificial intelligence, right? It will definitely tell you based on your message, right? Too much text, you need to reduce your text. In fact, you're dealing with a robot, not a person, right? And how by paying how many ringgit, how much ringgit, you will reach how many people and potentially how many likes. So same goes to Google. There's a SEM, right? What are the popular keywords that you can actually outreach to your target audiences? Yeah, but the rule of thumb is do not own any or do not earn any advertising burn rate. So to be more specific, if your communication is targeted to just male, right? Just focus on male, right? Same goes to Joanna. Her message is just more for female. Yeah. So the objective is important.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the business coaches that I speak to, Jeevan Sahadevan, if you have the well, it's not really luxury. He said test and measure, test and see, and measure and see what works, and experiment with that. So the questions are coming fast and furious. The first question is from Chi Quin Long. He said, everyone is trying to be the next viral thing because that seems like the miracle growth solution to maximize exposure in a short amount of time. Is this a conscious part of content creation? Is it a viable strategy to go for? And if not, why? Who would like to take that question? Joanna, I know. Okay.
I definitely agree that everyone is, aiming for that viral video. But with my kind of content, whenever I work with brands and sponsors, I always tell them that my content, I don't create content consciously to make it viral because that's not my type of content. So let's say if one video goes viral and they get 1 million views the next week or something, my video will be able to gain the same amount of views, but it might take 1 year. So I think the key, you can't create a video expecting it to go viral because there's no magical solution or magical thing that you can guarantee that a video will go viral. But if you focus on creating good content and it's shareable content that people will keep sharing, not just today, not just tomorrow, but they will keep sharing throughout the year, then you are reaching out to the same audience. But in fact, it's even stronger because you might be reaching out to, let's say, different audience across different regions, and your brand will always be there for the next year. So I don't think people should create video just to make it viral. That's what I stand for, at least.
And just to add on to that as well, I think the idea of trying to create content to go viral has led to a lot of very negative repercussions on the internet. If you look at companies like Upworthy, for example, where they kind of started this whole viral headline format, that led to a lot of clickbait, trashy content on the web. And then what happened then was that Facebook tweaked its algorithm to downplay that content. So sometimes trying to do something like this could have a more negative, longer-term effect. So Joanna's absolutely right. I mean, the nature of something going viral is that there is this organic growth that's massive and unpredictable. That is what causes the content to explode. Trying to engineer that is it doesn't make sense.
You young people want everything happen tomorrow, I mean, seriously, just to share an example, even, my colleague, you remember the ostrich? Remember the ostrich that was on the Federal Highway? That was shot by my colleague, right? Now I brought it up, suddenly you'll remember it. It went viral. What happens after that, right? So if you want to be in something for the long term, it is about creating content that is meaningful, that will last. Okay. That's my 2 cents worth. Question from Shah Dean. If I'm a journalist in print and broadcast now, do I have to fear for my existing role within the next 18 months because of digital disruption? This is for you, Marc. Yes, you should worry.
Why am I not surprised? Well, okay, here's the thing, right? If you're a journalist, and I don't know where you are, I think either you're here or in the other room, but if you're a journalist, you should not be talking about the next 18 months. And you should not be talking about digital disruption now. Digital disruption came a long time ago, and you should be prepared for the next wave of digital disruption. What's going to happen next is this. By 2023, the prediction is that more than 50% of users in the US will be moving to voice-based technologies, which means you should ask yourself, what comes after the smartphone? That is the next wave of disruption you should be looking at. You should be looking at artificial intelligence, which is going to change fundamentally the way journalism works. It's going to change the whole world, but specifically for journalists, AI is going to be both a huge learning curve, but also it's going to help you incredibly when it comes to your work. Moving forward, within Asia, we should be looking at social messaging platforms. Asia has some of the most advanced social messaging systems in the world. Look at WeChat. WeChat is self-contained. It has messaging. It has e-commerce. It has so many functionalities that companies like, let's say, WhatsApp doesn't. If you look at WhatsApp, in India, for example, there is a journalist who is doing micro-reporting on WhatsApp specifically for farmers, and he's monetizing that content. So digital disruption is going to both challenge you, but it's also going to teach you and give you opportunities to do a lot more things than what you're doing now. So don't take this as something to be afraid of. Take this as a great opportunity to learn.
Wow. Okay. I've got some questions that are similar, but question from Will Teo to Joanna and Desmond. With the change in digital technology happening so dramatically, how do you see using digital platforms can approach the millennials about a certain content which is important to them, but they might not be aware of it?
So can you make that question?
Oh, a little simpler?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know,
To the
you're
audience.
telling people you feel that it's something that is important, but how do you, and the people are not aware of it, but you feel that it's got to be important for them?
The fact for millennials is you can't dictate what's important to them anymore. You know, they decide what's important. They decide what's worthy and what's valuable for them to watch, to consume. Because content is pervasive now. It's available anywhere and anytime. So, you know, the days of dictated TV programming doesn't apply to millennials anymore. Everything is on demand, right? So I think for us, WebTVAsia, why we are able to capture the hearts and minds of millennials is because they all want to have a role model figure or a hero figure in their lives, even in the way they consume content. So back to the example of Be The Scar in Thailand, he's seen as a hero figure to the kids because he appeals to them in a way that mainstream media or TV cannot appeal to, right? And it's all down to the creativity of the creator. It's down to the personality of the online personality. And I think, you know, rather than dictating to them, why not listen to them? Why not engage them? Why not hear them? Why are they watching more cat videos and more ostrich videos than anything else? So I don't have a formula for that. We're constantly experimenting, constantly having trial and errors. But the more you engage them, the more you listen to them rather than telling them what to do or what to watch, I think there will be a better result.
Okay. This is from Lau Chikin to Joanna. How do you differentiate content meant to be from yourself or as representing from the company? I guess it's like...
You mean her network?
Yeah, or maybe yourself when you work with sponsors, I guess. Is that what you mean?
I think nowadays with sponsors and brands, they don't hard sell anymore. So whenever I work with sponsors and brands, I have most of the say rather than what the sponsor or how they want to position their brand. And so first of all, I believe that you should be very selective with the brands that you work with because it represents your image. So the video is going to be up there like as long as YouTube is up there. And secondly is, so it has, the way I work with brand is that it has to be a very natural integration with what I already practice or what I do on a daily basis. Let's say if I work with a tea brand, it's because I genuinely like that tea. I think if the person is asking in regards to company, like as in her network, then in regards to that, I do create content with other different ladies, and their content is very different in the sense that sometimes I do, I appear in the same video as them, but sometimes I don't. Is that what the person meant?
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I'm going to mix it up with questions from the floor. Yes, any question from the floor? Okay, we'll need someone here.
Thanks. My name is Jason. I'm from Fitness Concept. Okay, nowadays there are so many advertising platforms, such as newspaper, TV, Facebook, Google, AdSense, billboards. So among all of these platforms, which is the medium that has the highest ROI?
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Let me take that.
Right. Thank you.
ROI, return on investment. If you're talking about the more accuracy in terms of the calculating or the ROI, it's definitely the digital platform. Reason being is, like, let's say for just take TV and YouTube, right? Online video. YouTube, you can actually look into how long, right? What is the engagement? What is the participation on the video? But for TV, you only know what is the total viewership. But having said that, I'm not biased to digital. It depends on the outreach demographics, right? If you want to talk to someone in East Coast, talking about your prepaid plan, right? It is more for the suburban and rural area. TV might be the best ROI for you. Yeah.
Okay. Running out of time. Okay, this is a question from Suhaimi Sulaiman, the CEO of Astro Awani. We had a chat a couple of weeks ago. Can you help us visualize the new newsroom in the digital age? I think this is for Marc. Do you want to reveal your secrets?
Well,
together.
how many days of time does Suhaimi have?
Give him 2 points.
Okay, a few thoughts, and there's no way this can be a complete answer because it's a very complex subject. But the newsroom, a digital newsroom of the future, would need to be, or rather not even the future, but the present, would need to be very, very heavy on analytics. You would need to be able to understand and react to analytics in real time. And by that, I don't mean one editor or one analytics person, but the entire newsroom, all journalists should know how their content is performing across whatever platform that content is on, so as to be able to react and to understand what they should do next. Journalists and editors also need to be able to mine things like Google News, Facebook Insights. They need to be able to do data-driven reporting. Moving forward, they should also be able to have the capability to operate drones for aerial photography and videography. They need to be able to have more computer science degrees in the future to enable them to do more computer-aided reporting as well as artificial intelligence. So it's a long answer to a very short question, but Suhaimi can get in touch with me directly.
Yeah, that's all you're getting, Suhaimi. All right. This is we've got 2 more questions. We've got about 5 minutes. It says from Kenny Sim, I think we should approach this. What is the most effective way to reach out to the aging population above 60 years? Like I said, we're not dead yet.
Well, I think you will be amazed looking at the data from the social media. So, in fact, not to say aging, wiser people. Yes. Yeah. They are more and more into this platform, and their media consumption is increasing, and they have the power to spend. Yeah.
Okay.
And just to add to that,
Right.
my grandmother is on Facebook, so is my
There you
mother-in-law.
go.
So I think we should not underestimate the golden generation.
Of course. Right. One more question from the floor. This is the final question from the floor. Quickly raise your hand or forever hold up. Okay, there's one question here. Can someone, just the last question? One last question.
Mr. Sharp, we will answer your question separately.
There's a lady
Your
there,
first
the
question.
The young lady there.
I'd like to know, in this digitally disruptive world, how do you view ad fatigue and in terms of different media players on the stage?
Sorry, how do you view?
Ad fatigue.
Ad fatigue. Not again. Okay.
Well, there are ad blockers now everywhere.
And there are blockers to ad blockers.
Okay, all right. We've got a lot more questions, but maybe you can talk to them one-on-one. We've run out of time. Very insightful, very helpful, for me anyways, great learning. Thank you so much to our panelists, right? And thank you for your participation.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, put your hands together for Desmond, Marc, Joanna, Ken, and also Freda as the moderator. And just in case, excuse me, if you guys want to have a one-on-one with Marc Lourdes, he's actually doing a mentoring session at 5:30 onwards. So make sure to get your spot in order to have a one-on-one with him. Make sure to register at the registration counter. So if you want a mentoring session with Marc Lourdes. have. Right here at the auditorium will be the Science of Empathy by Danny No at 11:30. All right, so you have a buffering time of 10 minutes to move to the other talks and other sessions that we have at Makers Lab, which is beside Chillax Cafe. That will be Bobby Ong on the new money. The blockchain revolution now and the future. The timing for all the room and the auditorium is 11:30. So have a good one or have a good run.